Hi, Perry from Unga Guitars and the Unga School of Guitar Making here. I am working on my bang build. Finally reached the point of I'm ready for frets. And so I wanted to share a couple of things that really helped me with my fret jobs. First of all, let's talk about this paint job right here. I wish you could feel this. It's baby soft. The barrel of the neck here is bare wood with some stain on it, and I plan on sealing it in some wax, most likely a paste wax, and then buffing it out. But this is all figured maple, and the top here is fuchsia chalk paint that I laid over the stained wood, and so that's that sort of dark look that you see here, and it's pretty heavily textured. And what I've done is sprayed it in shellac to seal it, and then sanded it back so it's pretty smooth, and I sanded it to a super high grit. I mentioned before, if I could find sandpaper or sanding pads to a super high grit, I found it, 12,000 grit. So 1,500 all the way to 12,000. I did this whole neck like that, and then I took steel wool because I'm not looking for a super glossy look. I took steel wool and I brushed back all of the gloss, and what that left me with was this super smooth, baby soft finish. So one of the things that I do is I take these end nippers. I like to get them from Harbor Freight because it's easier to find around here. We don't have a Sears around here in Albuquerque, so Harbor Freight, and then I grind off the end. So the end nippers, they actually are shaped like this. They have a diagonal. They're called diagonal cutters. And what I do is I grind them down so that the end meets like this. And I can take this end and butt it flush up against the neck and cut the excess fret wire off. Super helpful. And I'm going to do a video really soon about the importance of some shop tools, certain shop tools. And I'll be going with you through. I'll be going through on the video how to do stuff like this and how to modify a few other tools. The other really helpful tool is I call this the nasty hook thingy because it ends up in my fingers usually. I use this to clear out the frets, the fret slots here after I've sanded the radius and done all my finish work. You can see I'm still pulling out some debris. Very important to get all that debris out. Even if you have an air compressor and you can blow those frets out, sometimes that stuff's caked in there, sometimes finish gets in there, all sorts of things. It's really helpful. And you can get these through any guitar parts supplier or guitar tool supplier, probably on Amazon if you know what they're called. This one is called, well, that's what it's called right there. And I'll provide a link to where I got this one. When I'm installing my frets, well, back up a step. So having a block like this is super helpful, especially if you're receiving your frets already cut. What you can do is put them in here and have a place to hold them, especially if you're pre-cutting them. So what I do is I buy about 100 feet of fret wire at a time. It's somewhat straight, and I use my fret bender here that I actually make, and I'll provide a link to it on my website. I sell these on my website, and it's aluminum and stainless steel basically. And what I do is, just like any other fret wire, I put it in here and I roll out, and in this case I'm only going to do the end because I only need a couple of frets here. And so I'll roll it out and then I'll pull it back so I don't have to bend the whole wire because I keep it in the tube it came in right here, so I could just shove the rest back in here. So I'll demonstrate by cutting the first fret. What I'll do in this case, I'm looking at this situation as I want to get the most use out of these 100 feet of fret wire. So I'm going to line this edge up, just hanging over the edge here just a little bit so I can get a good bevel on it. And I'm going to place my fret nipper up to here, and I'll put it over my bench, and I'll hold the excess and just squeeze, and now I've got a fret that is the right size for installation. The way I install them is I use both a hammer and a fret press, and I like these little hammers. They have a nylon side, which I've pounded through, and a softer brass side. I really like these for starting the frets, so I'll go ahead and tap one end in, and then if you follow me over here to my fret arbor, or my arbor press, I have this little caul here that I hold my neck in. It's lined with cork, and I'll go ahead and line this up. And when you do this, you really want to get down on the same level as your press. I have a 16-inch radius on this fingerboard. I have a 16-inch caul on here, and when I put this down, I'm going to be careful to see where I position it. And I want that whole fret to be in the coved part. If it's not, what's going to happen is the caul is actually going to press into the wood and leave an ugly indentation that's really hard to get out. So then I'll go ahead and press it in. That's all it took. And if you look at it from here, you can see that it's pressed down nice and even. And if you have any high spots, you just come back over here to the workbench, and it helps to have a clean, soft workbench, and you just tap in any high spots that you have. You don't have to muscle it. In this case, what is really going to help you is a decent grip, not too tight. I can still pull it right out, and a loose wrist. And we want to like whip it, almost like a bull whip, and be accurate with the placement of our strikes, so that we're not damaging our finished fretboard. And so I'll go ahead and tap in the ends, and I'll just give them a few taps, and then I'll look down from the top to see that it's nice and flush, and this one is nice and flush if I look down from the top. So these are just a few pointers. I'll go over how I bevel them and how I level them in the next video. So I'm Perry from Unga Guitars and the Unga School of Guitar Making. Great to see you this time, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.